Tonight,
From Coburn of Oklahoma. Senator Coburn, thanks a lot for coming on.
Glad to be with you, Tucker. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I bet it has been. You've been in the Roberts hearings all day long. I think you're doing this legislation is a great idea. Someone needs to oversee where this money is spent. But why should the federal government rebuild the battered area in the first place, philosophically? Why is it the federal government's responsibility to do that?
Well, I don't think that that's what we're talking about right now, rebuilding. What we're talking about is meeting the needs of those people who have just been tremendously overwhelmed by the greatest natural tragedy that this country's ever seen. So I don't think the decision to rebuild by your tax dollars yet has been made.
But $62 billion, I mean, that's not just food and water. I mean, there's got to be going to infrastructure.
Well, I think that raises the whole question, is nobody knows. And nobody knows where it's going. Nobody knows where we got this estimate. And the idea is that we need to know, and we need to know how the money's going out, and it needs to be watched as it goes out rather than looked at after the fact. And so myself and Senator Obama put together a bill that both the majority leader and the minority leader of the Senate support, and hopefully will come through, and it creates a chief financial officer and overseer for all this money, working for the president. The president nominates them. They have to be confirmed by the Senate. We'll do that quickly if we can get this legislation through, and we'll watch this money. It's not to say that there hadn't started to be some transparency and accountability in the federal government, but there certainly hadn't with FEMA based on the last hurricane expenditures they made. And we want to make sure that that money's watched as it goes out, and it's there to help the people who have a need, not to help the people who are helping the people that have a need.
Amen. So but it's not even clear where the figure $62 billion came from. I mean, that's a little scary.
It is scary, and it's exactly the wrong response to throw money at something before you know where the money's going. So if we're going to throw the money, number one, we got to know where it's going ahead of time. Number two is we ought not to be throwing the money without making cuts somewhere else in the budget.
Well, the people of Bozeman, Montana, I got a wire story right in front of me.
I saw that.
You saw that. That's right. They have petitioned the city council to give back $4 million that was earmarked for a parking garage in this enormous highway bill, embarrassingly large highway bill, and give that money to the people of the Gulf Coast. What do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's right. And as a matter of fact, I think all the earmarks of all the members of Congress this year ought to be rescinded, and those monies ought to be given back. That's not to say that the earmarks aren't for some very good projects, but the problem we have in Washington is the politicians are now using earmarks to benefit themselves politically, and it takes that money out of the order of what is in the most important priority for the country. And we shouldn't be spending a dollar at a time we're at war, the time we have record deficits now with Katrina, the time we have this national tragedy that has struck the Gulf Coast. We shouldn't be spending a penny on anything that isn't absolutely necessary.
Well, yeah, because some of these, I mean, just for the edification of our viewers, want to put up a short list on the screen. We could have made it pages and pages long. $223 million for an Alaska bridge linking 50 island residents to the mainland, $231 million for a Don Young bridge in Anchorage, $5.9 million for a Vermont snowmobile trail. Why can't people of Vermont pay for their own snowmobile trail? I mean,
well, who pays for it is important, but more importantly, those aren't priority projects compared to the things that we're facing today. And we need leadership in Washington that says, and what we really need, Tucker, more than anything, is we need the American people to start demanding of their elected representatives to start making the hard choices we were sent up here to make. It's easy to spend $62 billion of your grandkids' money, and that goes totally contrary to the heritage of our country of making sacrifices now for the next generation. We're asking our grandchildren to sacrifice to take care of this because the politicians in this country don't want to make the hard choices of making spending priorities.
Good for you for saying that. I wish more people in the Senate felt that way. Now, you've spent all day in the Roberts hearings. What did you make of his comments yesterday that he thought that Griswold versus Connecticut, the decision in 1965 that created the right to privacy really out of nothing and paved the way for Roe v. Wade 8 years later, that he thought that was a good decision? What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think he said it was a good decision. I think he said it was settled.
Well, he said, no, he said he believed in the right of privacy and said nice things. Unfortunately, I have it right in front of me, but about Griswold versus Connecticut. What do you think of his statement that he believes in the right to privacy in the Constitution?
Well, I think what he said is what he said. I can't recall exactly what he said, but the more importantly is how he will adjudicate cases.
Yes.
Which is he outlined for us a very methodical way in which he will look at them. He defends stare decisis at times, but he also recognizes that 176 times the Supreme Court, affecting 226 cases, has totally reversed a precedent. So.
Well, I guess the reason I'm asking you this is there are so many Republican appointees to the high court, starting with David Souter, we could go back and make quite a long list, who have been confirmed as conservative, supposedly, and become quite liberal, in some cases very liberal. Aren't you worried Judge Roberts could be one of those?
No, I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because his position is to, I've had long discussions with him in my office. His position is that they're not to make law, but they're to interpret law. And when you look at these like Griswold type cases, the cases that really, what happens to in our country should be decided in legislatures, not the courts, I think he finds that deference to the legislature will trump any of that. And so he understands their job is not to make policy. And so I think we wait and see, but I wouldn't take that as one indicator that he is not a conservative. I believe him to be a conservative, but again, I would make the point for all Americans. We don't want a conservative or a liberal. What we want is judges that try to separate from their ideological basis to make clear and concise decisions according to our Constitution and our laws, recognizing that they should have some limitation in terms of how far they go, and that the only thing they reference is our law and our Constitution, and policy is not their job.
I hope you're right. I very much hope you're right. Senator Tom Covert of Oklahoma, thanks a lot for joining us.
Glad to do it. Tucker, God bless you.
Well, it was another day of frustration for Democrats at John Roberts' confirmation hearings in Washington today. Some even complained that the mild-mannered judge was more tight-lipped than any of his predecessors have been. NBC Justice correspondent Pete Williams was there for today's testimony and files this report.
Frustration among Democrats boiled over when Roberts declined to be pinned down on end-of-life issues like removing a feeding tube.
Without any knowledge of your understanding of the law, because you will not share it with us. We are rolling the dice with you, Judge. There's no more possibility that any one of us here would be elected to the United States Senate without expressing broadly and sometimes specifically to our public what it is we believe.
I'm not standing for election, and it is contrary to the role of judges in our society. Judges go on the bench and they apply and decide cases according to the judicial process, not on the basis of promises made earlier to get elected or promises made earlier to get confirmed.
Republicans said Roberts is as responsive as nominees ever are, and that some questions are really intended to influence his thinking.
It is the only time that, before you take your position on the court, you'll have the opportunity to be directly lobbied in the political context in an appropriate way.
But some Democrats, like New York's Charles Schumer, still demanded answers.
It's as if I asked you what kind of movies you like. And then I ask you if you like Casablanca, and you respond by saying lots of people like Casablanca.
Schumer was out of time, but Roberts wanted to reply.
First, Dr. Zhivago and North by Northwest.
Roberts also said today he believes in consulting legislative history when it's necessary to decide cases, something that the court's most conservative justices, Scalia and Thomas, wouldn't dream of. Tucker, back to you.
Thanks, Pete. Well, it's the last thing anyone wanted to see, another dangerous hurricane strike. The governor of North Carolina is warning residents of his coast to evacuate now. Ophelia could dump 15 inches of rain, producing serious flooding. Jeff Ranieri is at NBC Weather Plus. Jeff, what is the latest?
Well, right now we've already seen over 10 inches of rainfall for some spots of the coastline. It's because this system is moving so slowly and there's so much rain associated with it. Right now, just miles, the center of the storm off the Cape Lookout area, also Atlantic Beach, where we've had NBC's Michelle Kaczynski all night. She's getting blown around by winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. And that's the thing with this storm system. It's going to sit basically in this area right around Cape Hatteras and these inlet regions for possibly 6 to 12 hours. So it just compounds the problems you see with rainfall. That's why we have a huge flooding threat for a lot of these coastal areas, and also compounding the wind on top of it, because when you get a wind gust at 70 miles per hour, at first it may not, do too much damage, but hour after hour of winds in the 60 to 70 mile per hour range could do Category 2 damage to a lot of the beachfront properties rather than what we would see typically from a Category 1. Currently, a wind gust is 67 in Cape Lookout, and areas from Wilmington southward are starting to become in the clear of the system. It's mainly from Cape Lookout to Cape Hatteras that we're going to see some of the strongest winds and the heaviest rain as we head through the next possible 12 to 15 hours. Right now is the latest 11 o'clock update, winds at 85 miles per hour, gusting to 104, and there's that very slow and sluggish movement east-northeast at 7 miles per hour. Typically, you'll see a hurricane move between 10 to 20 miles per hour. Helps it to clip along a little bit faster, but this system has stayed pretty much stationary for a lot of its time, helping to continue to dump out that rain. Tucker?
Jeff, where's it going from here, from North Carolina?
Well, once it exits North Carolina on Thursday, it's going to head out into the Atlantic, and then by Friday, we do expect the system to be out here well into the Atlantic and not really affecting anyone at that point. Now, places like New York City and Boston into Saturday and Sunday could get some cloud cover, possibly a shower or two from some of those outer rain bands, but after we're done with North Carolina, it looks like a lot of the nation should be in the clear from this really pesky system that just hasn't wanted to go anywhere.
That's good news. Thanks, Jeff. Coming up, among the evacuees from New Orleans was a Louisiana lawmaker whose behavior in that city has prompted serious allegations. He joins me next to explain his side of the controversial story. Plus, the floodwaters continue to drain out of New Orleans amid suggestions that the levee system there is still in miserable shape. The man in charge of repairs answers the questions when we come back.
We're making better choices every day to keep our cholesterol and blood pressure healthy.
Like choosing to eat more fish and less red meat.
And now we're choosing a new multivitamin, One-A-Day Cholesterol Plus.
Introducing new One-A-Day Cholesterol Plus, the only complete multivitamin with polycosanol and heart-supporting nutrients to help maintain healthy cholesterol and blood pressure.
For us, there's no better choice.
New One-A-Day Cholesterol Plus.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
Still to come, a Louisiana congressman reportedly used the National Guard to remove belongings from his house while emergency workers raced to save thousands of victims in New Orleans. William Jefferson joins us to present his side of the story when the situation returns. Next.